Yeah. Y'all know what it is. Get to the floor, what you waiting for? Cause we can ride the beat straight to the top. Been waiting so long and now it's my time to show them all that it's not a game. And I don't care what I'm looking like, I just gotta show you that I'm not going nowhere. Feel about it, I don't doubt it. Show me that you're showing up about it, about it.
Welcome to the Life in the Now broadcast. I'm your host, Nicky Yarborough, and I am here live on location at the Life Church International, where the pastor is Overseer Greg James. He is also the state overseer of Clerk International Fellowship and the national director of Ex-Offenders National Summit. I am so excited about the show on today. God has really dealt with my heart about prison ministry, and it's basically has been most of all I've been doing over the past year, and it's truly blessed my heart. So today we're going to be talking about re-entry or return. I mean, this re-entry that we're here, everybody talk about, is it designed for the men and women to have a successful re-entry into society, or is it designed for them to return back to prison? So we're going to talk to a very special guest today, and he's going to share his story. His name is Mr. Warren Barnes. He lives here locally, and I'm just going to let him tell us a little bit more about his story.
564196 are 6 numbers Warren Barnes will never forget. They represent his former state of Florida prison number, a number he left behind March 2nd, 2000, when he was released. Today, number 1100 or 11 a.m. is his focus, which represents the time he gets to see his baby girl graduate from preschool.
My daughter, Keila Barnes, she just graduated from preschool to kindergarten.
Okay.
She's been waiting for this moment for some time.
Warren, who's in his work uniform for this event, is a maintenance manager at a local fast food restaurant. His 13-year successful reentry story includes rebuilding his life in every area, starting with family. His fiancée, baby girl, and other children are part of his motivation to keep living this life of freedom.
During that time frame when I was incarcerated, there was a lot of dreams, and this moment here is like a dream that actually comes true. You get a chance to experience things like this from an adult's version, but looking at what a child is and just being able to make sure that child is happy.
What about for you? How do you feel just having a family together and standing with him, being with him, and everything?
It's great. He made a major change.
Yeah.
So.
Warren has already beat the odds that say more than half of ex-felons will return to prison within 5 years. For Warren, there's no time to be a statistic. Instead, he'd rather push forward in his new life, which he hopes will include many more graduations to come.
It's been a blessing for me, and it's like reincarnation of myself when I wanted to experience these things, and now I'm being able to feel the vibe of it.
For Life in the Now TV, I'm Elle Michelle.
And if you would, just welcome Warren to the show on today. Thanks for joining us, Warren. Warren, can you just tell me a little bit about your story, a little bit about what happened, and go into the process that it took for you to re-enter back into society?
Well, back in 1991, I was arrested, and I guess what the government said that we were part of an organization that was one of the largest networks here in Tallahassee, Florida. But initially, when you read those statements, they say that about every drug case that they bust, they would say that you were a part of the largest network. I was well aware of the fact, upon my being arrested, the crimes that I committed and so forth, and at that present time, it wasn't about, beating the system, because it doesn't say you versus the state. It says your name versus United States of government.
Right.
And very few people win against the government. So my counsel advised me to, accept the best time that was best for me to do my time. And at that present time, I knew what I had to do my time, and, just asked myself the opportunity to get back into the society, and I was sentenced to a 15-year sentence where I was thinking, wow, where am I going? Because I know with the federal government, you can be here in Florida, Alaska, California, and you hear all these different stories where families are torn apart because gentlemen be here and the family can't see them. One thing I did learn about the federal government, when you go in the system, there are ways they send you so far out to mentally break you from your families or those who are around you, and just kind of really shatter you. And it's almost like, I look at it, it's almost like the military. They try to retrain your mind when you get in there, and so that you don't think of the streets, you're thinking of what you need to be doing for the government. I mean, for them as well. It was tough. I was going through trying to get my mind right. Can I do this time? I've never really been incarcerated for such a long time like this. What am I going to do? Of course, there was a lot of guys that were in there that I knew, because at the time that I got arrested, there was over 15 or 16 of us that originally that was involved with this, what they call clean sweep, where they arrested what they thought were the largest guys in the neighborhood, the city of Tallahassee. I think it was June 4th or somewhere in that vicinity. I woke up that morning and I just kept thinking to myself, I'm like, wow, I hope I don't end up leaving soon, because I really wanted to spend more time with my family, I had family here in Tallahassee that was supporting me, coming to see me. And at that present time, you have a multitude of girlfriends, because as a drug dealer, you have everybody that wants to be part of the assets that you have, but not a part of the time that you have to do.
Tell it.
So
Tell it.
I had, numerous people still supporting me at that time, and the night before I was having some issues with a current girlfriend at that time, and I said to myself, I said, if I'm going to do this time, I got to do it by myself. So I told her that Sunday, I said, I don't know what's going to happen, so let's just end this. And the next morning I woke up at 4 a.m. I was being rolled out, riding the bus, all kind of thoughts going through my head, and I got to this institution. And when I got to this institution, this were in Marianna, Florida, where I did the majority of my time. Wasn't the state of Florida, and this wasn't, where you was going to go to the county. This is federal government, where you pretty much would spend the rest of your life, or a big percentage of your life, because at that time it was 85% of your time, versus you go in, you do a few months, you get game time, you get out, like the state was. Like I said, I knew a lot of guys that had been there, and as soon as you get off, you get acquainted with guys who have already been in there. I had an uncle there that was serving a 34-year sentence, and some guys that were arrested with him at that time frame, they dap you up and say, hey, here's this, that, But me, I've always been kind of taught through my grandmother kind of to depend on myself. So when I got there, I didn't join any groups. I didn't really get into anything that I felt like was going to help me through my time. I did start reading the Bible, start associating with people that I thought could give me some advice on things that I could do. I started reading more. I got involved with a work program which they had in there where they paid you 11 cents an hour. I mean, we worked from the morning to the nights, and then you'd be knocking on the door trying to get some extra if you didn't have money coming in. We had to pay for our own phone calls. And a phone call from Tallahassee from Marianna, it was about almost $7 for a 15-minute call. So you got to imagine the strain that was putting on a lot of the families of those who didn't have the money. And for some of the guys who left money, that was being used, to try to support them. It was tough at first, but I kind of found my way because I started reading. I started trying to write words down that I didn't use in my past, and I just started trying to keep myself busy and not think about where I was, but where I wanted to go. And each day I kept thinking to myself, wow, what am I going to do when I get out? Because when you get out, you be gone so long, and you just kind of feel like you're going to be out of place, or what kind of image will you have, and who's going to be there for you?
Right. Let me ask you this question. How long were you, they say down, that's the word they use, how long were you in there?